And time to hear from our sponsor, that's right, I've now got a sponsor for the channel, that's right, and it is FusionRetroBooks.com. Now if you go to FusionRetroBooks.com, they basically have a range of amazingly awesome retro books, that's right, some of them can come in PDF, some are physical, they do calendars, they do lots of retro video or lots of retro goodies. So make sure to use the code that you can see on screen now and also in the description below to get 15% off your order. And there is no limit to the amount of times you can use this. So if you know somebody who wants access to this to get money off, then give them a code. Thanks for supporting the channel. What is up everyone, my name's Al from Gamesreup. Today I interviewed, that's right, John Romero, the co-creator of Doom, Quake. You know, if you know id, you know exactly what I'm talking about, or even who I'm talking about. That's right, we're talking about John Romero, that's right. And I actually got to interview him, that's right. My little channel got to have a nice little interview, which, let's face it, I never thought would happen, but it did, and I put some good questions to him, so sit back and enjoy. It's about 35-40 minutes, so yeah, sit back, grab a beer, and let's do it. Let's talk to John.
Hello.
Hello, John. You all right?
Yep. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I'm loving those arcade machines in the background there.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. That's awesome. Well, first of all, I'd like to say, obviously, thanks for doing this interview with me. I honestly didn't expect you to want to do one because obviously, you know, you're a big name in the FPS genre, as it were. But yeah, no, I'm so happy to have you here.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
That's all right, no problem at all. So obviously, I got a few questions for you today, and let's start. So obviously, what's your favourite sort of pre-Doom game that you developed?
Pre-Doom? You mean like Wolfenstein?
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, obviously Wolfenstein. I mean, was there, I mean, was there anything else that you kind of worked on that maybe didn't even see the light of day?
Oh, geez. Well, that's a totally different category because by the time I made Doom, that was my 90th game.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Wolfenstein was 87. So I've made a ton of games.
I honestly did not know it was that many.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
idsoftware was when we started making stuff together, it was game number maybe close to 70 or something like that.
Right.
Because we made Dangerous Dave and Catacomb and Slordax and Shadow Knights and the Keen trilogy, Dangerous Dave 2, Rescue River 1 and 2, Hover Tank.
Yeah.
You know, we made a ton of games before we made Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
But before that, I've been making Apple II games.
Right.
Since '82.
Right.
So, and I had started making games in '79. So about 3 years without a computer, making games, and then since '82 until id, doing like Apple II, and then later some PC stuff. Commodore 64.
Commodore 64, yeah, love the Commodore 64. Man, we've all got love for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. So yeah, game, my favorite. I'd probably say before id, probably Dangerous Dave. It's a game that has been kind of free, like it was given away as a demonstration of what we could do in Gamer's Edge when we had started making games every month at Softdisk. And that game basically went everywhere in the world because it was free, but where it really kind of got cemented was in India and Pakistan. So when people bought new PCs, when they installed Windows on the machine, they also installed Dangerous Dave.
Right,
so
right.
I've had so many people from India and Pakistan emailing me about it, just like, "Oh my God, you made Dave!" You know,
yeah.
Been invited to conferences, because of my classic games such as Dangerous Dave.
Yeah.
And it's more popular than Doom over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
worry.
because I mean, it was installed with every computer.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. To be fair,
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I absolutely love Dangerous Dave 2.
Yeah, Dave 2 was great.
Love the second one. Oh man, I've played
Our
so
first
much of that.
shotgun.
Yeah, oh, so good. That's amazing.
Yeah,
No,
we made it in 2 months.
2 months.
Yep.
No way. What was the first game you've ever done then? I know you say you went all the way back to 1979.
Yeah, so
So
that
what?
was a text adventure on a mainframe.
Right. Okay.
Just writing the first text adventure ever. You know, like different rooms, you could go between rooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I had just seen Colossal Cave Adventure being played. So I decided to see if I could learn how to program and make one.
That's crazy.
So I was, I was 11 and went to the university and just started learning on my own in the computer lab. So I was just asking questions about how to program in BASIC. I shouldn't have even been there, but nobody kicked me out, and it was summer. So.
We've all done a bit of BASIC.
Yeah, yeah.
Such a great language to program in. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so which system was the most interesting or fun to work with so far?
Geez, well, the Apple II was my favorite for 10 years, you know, at least. Um, Probably Next Step was the most mind-blowing system, coming from really primitive computers like 8-bit systems, and then like in DOS kind of counts as the same amount of primitive as an Apple II or Commodore.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So going from a command line based kind of system to a workstation that's all graphical and high res, and the amount of built-in UI, the amount of built-in like kits programming into the machine that was already there to use was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it was like the, as far as programming goes, it was like the most mind-blowing part of programming was using Next Step for the first time, which is OS 10 today. You know, Mac OS is Next Step. So, but it was cool playing with it in '92 for the first time, and then '93 for every day.
Okay, so what do you see as the most important technological development in the history of games?
Probably the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the internet's huge. Multiplayer at speeds that you just can't do over modems, and serial cables is in the things that you can do, like having MMOs with thousands of people in it, just socializing with lots of people in an MMO, playing high-speed LAN games, it's just connecting people together. The internet was massive.
Do you think then that, and it's not quite off topic, but do you think then games should really go fully multiplayer? Because the reason I say this is because obviously people, let's just look at Fallout for an example, Fallout 76. Now it's got its fans, but it's, put it this way, I love everything Fallout, but I don't like 76. And I think that's just primarily because you have to be connected. Now, I think, am I right in saying that there's now a single player part where you can play on your own, or you can have private servers? But do you think too many games companies, or designers, devs, whatever, all want to focus it towards multiplayer mainly because, I don't know, just because of the sheer amount of people who will want to be involved in that? And do you think, obviously, there's still a space for single player? Because I personally think that games like Wolfenstein, obviously all the new Wolfenstein, Doom, etc., those single player campaigns are incredible, but so many people are missing out on them because they're so focused on multiplayer.
So the thing about having online, like a single player and online, say like Hitman or like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, like you need to be logged in because your character's stored online, and even if it is a single player game, you are still keeping all of your status and your save games and everything up in the cloud. It's great for when you are jumping between machines and everything, but for like if you trash your version, you don't lose anything. You just reinstall and everything comes back. That's just like the world that we have now. I mean, your computer is always online with was it called OneDrive, and
OneDrive,
with
yeah.
iCloud, on the Mac. Your phone is always on, like everybody's already online all the time. It's just invisible in the case of your operating system. It just doesn't magically in the background. And so games are for publishers, it's a way to track your customers and know everything your customers are doing as far as their play patterns and how long they play, and like if you have a lot of people playing for really short amounts of time in a game that should be a long amount of time per session, then you know that you have a design problem, and you need to figure out how to solve it. So those metrics are actually helping the players when the publishers pay attention to them and decide that they need to change something or make something better. Um, if you weren't online, you wouldn't have like really great feedback to a publisher that's receptive to modifying the game to make it better for the players. Um, so I don't have a problem with having the game be online, but it would be nice if there was a way to just say I don't want to be connected. Like if you can't play the game if you're not online, I don't like that. I would rather like keep a copy of my status locally,
Yeah.
and if I run it again and I'm not online, then just invisibly fail online and just keep on playing the single player game. Just have that option of updating it. So um, if I do a lot of progress offline because my internet was down and I come back the next day and it's back up, it should update the online version with the local that has been progressed already. So that's like the right way of doing it. Achievements, all that kind of stuff. Since
Yeah.
they're personal things anyway, there's no harm in it. If you decide that you're going to hack your save games or whatever, who cares? You're not competing with anybody because it's just a single player game,
Yeah, of
right?
course. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's no harm in allowing that kind of functionality. It's just a little bit more work to do it.
Right.
But I personally don't have a problem if a game is only going to run if I've connected to the internet because my computer's always on the internet, so not a big deal. But single player in itself, I think, should always be supported unless the game inherently makes no sense. Like Overwatch, like having a single player mode doesn't make sense
No.
unless they're going to
No.
build a giant campaign where any character can play through that campaign.
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't matter because that's an online like PUBG,
Yes. Yeah.
Fortnite, that kind of stuff. Those are made for that. But I think that people still love playing single player games. So there's no reason that all games should be multiplayer because why? People don't read a book with all their friends at the same time.
No. No. I mean, it just worries me that well, I don't know if it will, but one day it is all fully going to be multiplayer experience. I don't know. I don't know. It's just something that seems to worry me a little bit because we just seem to be seeing more and more of these multiplayer only games. And obviously, I'm guessing it's all to do with money at the end of the day and the sheer
Yep.
amount of people who are, into these games. But it just worries me that like, I don't want to call myself a traditional gamer, but someone who very much plays single player games. To be fair, I don't even I've got PlayStation Plus, etc., but I very rarely use it, and it just worries me that there's a lot of stories we're not going to see, or a lot of ideas that could have come to light, but we just won't see because of it. I mean,
Well, yeah, if you're trying, depends on your production value. The more money you put into it, the less risk that you want to take. And to mitigate the risk of a massive budget, you want as many players in it as possible, which means you're going to go for making something that's going to put tons of people on it versus one person at a time.
right.
So if you do have a game like a Call of Duty, which is about going single player through a thing, you're going to have a multiplayer mode that everybody jumps into. Like with a giant budget, you got to pull tons of people into it to make that investment pay off. So yeah, there's a multiplayer mode in all kinds of massive games that cost tons of money, and the ones that are cheaper to make, like say indie games, those can be tons of single player things. I mean, they're mostly single player.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah, that's a good point.
you know.
Yeah.
So What Remains of Edith Finch and Firewatch and like you name it, all these single player games are really really great, made by small indie teams.
I mean, talking of indie games, Do you have a favourite at the moment?
Probably A Short Hike was my recent favorite.
I don't think I've played that. What is that?
Yeah, it is. It's a really great little. It's a really feel good kind of game. So it's a very positive game. Sounds really great, and it has really positive dialogue in it. And it is a game where you're like, if you're a completionist, you are going to try and figure everything out in this game, and it just takes place on an island, a
Right.
little
Okay.
island,
Yeah.
and you can fly around it because everyone's an animal and you're a bird, and you can fly, but like you upgrade your flying and you dialogue with everybody, and there's all kinds of get this thing and give it to this person and gives you this thing, and it's a fast game to get through, but it just is it's fun to play because the flying is done amazingly amazingly well, and the game is just very positive, just and it doesn't take long to beat, but you wanted to keep on playing it to finish it, so you can go ahead and finish it, but you haven't gotten everything. So
Yeah.
it makes you want to keep on playing it. There's no reason to like start it over. You just keep playing it until you've uncovered everything in the game.
That sounds awesome. Right. So this is going to be a kind of a curveball here. So, have you played Animal Crossing? Because I'd say that's kind of familiar or similar in the sense that you can complete the game, but you still play it daily for hours upon end for pretty much no reason. Do you know?
Yeah.
Is it very similar in that sense, or not really?
No, because when you finish the whole thing, you probably feel like you're done playing it.
Right. Right.
So it's not a game that because it doesn't change.
Right.
It's not like a game that changes the way that Animal Crossing changes, where
Yeah.
each new day is some new dialogue and stuff like that. And it's not online or anything. It's just like, on a Mac, it's just one file, a shorthike.app,
Right.
and it's just a really nice little experience, and the soundtrack is just great.
Right. I was going to say, to be fair, talking about Animal Crossing and the whole single player and multiplayer thing, I suppose Animal Crossing has kind of got it right in the sense that that's a single player game, yet they keep adding little things by it being connected online, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think games are getting more into is this small amount of multiplayer content or multiplayer connectivity that doesn't throw you into an MMO situation where you don't feel comfortable. Like, I don't want to be online with a ton of people. I feel like I want to have my single player experience, and maybe I want one other person to play, like Journey. I just want one other person kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm playing, like, my favorite game right now is Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and that is a single player game that's made for co-op.
Right.
And so when you're playing it, it's a giant World of Warcraft streaming world that you're flying helicopters and driving and all that kind of stuff. Looks amazing. It's realistic graphics and everything. And you can just like go in anywhere you want and just start, you're playing in a giant world like you are in an MMO, except there's no other people. It's all AI. But when you want to play with other people at any time, you can go ahead and pop the social button and say, I'm looking for a group that's doing exploration or doing boss battles or whatever, or PvP if you want to get into PvP and do raids. They have raids on a different island.
Right.
So it's got all this stuff that you don't need to do, but if you want to, you can connect with other people and get on the headset and start talking to them, and then just you and that other person. And maybe you can invite someone else. You can have like up to 4 people, like the whole world is in an instance in WoW. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just go and do these things and just like pop out whenever you want to, maybe friend them or whatever. But it's real light. It's not like an MMO where you were always on with everybody. It's only like, I'm gonna play single player, and it's like, let me see if I can help somebody with the quest, mission or something, and just pop in and connect with somebody and go like, oh yeah, I've totally done this. Watch me.
Yeah. To be fair, it sounds amazing. I haven't played it, but it does sound really, really good.
It's awesome. As a shooter, it's amazing.
That's awesome. I'll have to check it out. Okay, so what brought about the decision to basically unleash, I should say. I call it Sigil. It is Sigil, isn't it?
Yeah, Sigil.
Because I don't want to get that wrong. Onto the Doom fans.
Like Jib.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to get it correct. Yeah. So what was the kind of decision to release Sigil on the Doom fans, and why now? I mean, is it due to the high interest in the sort of franchise now with Doom 2016? We call it Doom Eternal, and is there other factors like the resurgence? I don't want to call it retro shooters. I just don't like calling them that. But shooters, classic shooters, let's call it.
Yeah, classic shooters.
Yeah, yeah. Is it due to that? What kind of brought it?
It was only because it was Doom's 25th anniversary.
Was that literally all it was?
Yeah, that was the whole reason. So because it was Doom's 25th anniversary, I thought, what can I do that's better than a post on Twitter?
Right, yeah.
Maybe I can do a new episode and then make it a little extra special by having some cool MP3 music and some really cool MIDI music, and let players kind of get the MIDI stuff for free because it's a small download and everything, and then people who pay for a premium kind of version can get the Buckethead soundtrack, and then people who want to collect more stuff like my head on a stake and it's stuff like that in a big box, the beast box and the big box.
Yeah.
So kind of just decided, basically put it all out there. But mainly, like, if people want to play through it, they can just play it for free. They can just download it for free, which is kind of funny with the company that we went through to do that. It was almost like, what? We're going to sell something you're giving away for free. It's like, no, we're selling a box with stuff in it.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack is on CD as well. And there's a book on the making of and video and all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. That's cool.
So it was for the 25th anniversary. So when people, some people that saw it were like, what? This isn't Doom 2? It was like, well, because it's not Doom 2's birthday. It's Doom 1's birthday.
No.
And that's what this is for.
so hold on then. Does that mean, I know I probably shouldn't ask, does that mean we're going to see a sequel to this?
I can't say. I can't say anything I'm working on. Everything I'm working on is top secret.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Except Empire of Sin, which everybody now knows that it's been announced. But I worked on that for years before it was announced.
Well, I just thought I'd probe you. just in case you're like, yeah, no, for sure we are. Okay, that's cool. That's awesome. Okay, so what do you think about game development in general these days? And when I say that, I mean, has it lost its originality when it comes to storytelling and new ideas, and sort of anyone now being able to create stories and gameplay experiences without being a big studio? Do you think that's a hindrance or a benefit for gaming?
Well, I mean, people have been able to make games without us being in a studio since games were made. The game industry, when it first started in 1977 and kind of started getting bigger in the early 80s, when you hear of publishers like Broderbund or Sierra, those companies like Sirius, Datasoft, and Datamos, all these companies in the early 80s pumped out tons and tons of games. Those were games made by indies. They were never made at a publisher, because a publisher was a person or a few people that were just taking discs and duplicating them and putting them in boxes. They actually didn't do development usually, unless it was a small company like Surtec. In some of the early Broderbund, when they got just a little bit bigger, they started bringing teams in-house. But at the very beginning, it was all indies sending their games in, and people deciding that they're going to be publishers because there's a market, because these computers are coming out and people want to play things.
Yeah.
So indies have always been there making games at home on their own or with someone else. Back in the 80s, it was almost never with somebody else. It was always alone.
Yeah.
So the industry was just built by, indies that worked really hard, and there's always room for it. And the fact that it's gotten easier is great, because in the early days, you had to be an assembly language programmer to make really great games, which it tends towards a certain type of game that is different than someone who's a purely creative, like a purely creative designer that doesn't know how to code, but they've spent all of their brain power thinking of play patterns and ideas and that kind of stuff. So there's room for a team of people who are really great programmers and really great designers, and that's kind of how it's developed over the years. And now it's just even better that we have tools that allow people to make games, because not everybody has the same ideas.
No.
A lot of people have different unique ideas, and sometimes those ideas provide the seed of a new thing like Portal, at Digipen, when that team created the Portal out of Quake as a Quake mod. It was like, that's a real game, and then Valve brings them in and they make a real game that's classic.
Right. Yeah.
Team Fortress, TF2 would have been there if it wasn't for Quake and the TF1 team.
Yeah.
Creating Team Fortress.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of there's a lot of people with a lot of ideas that will turn into something big at some point. Minecraft was, nobody expected that.
No.
That was totally in plain sight for years, was being developed in front of everybody and was not ripped off.
No.
It was just like it was this really great idea. And so those things are going to keep happening, and you'll see more of them the more people are able to create. So I think it's great that more people can use engines to create things that we never thought of that then blow up into these really cool things.
Yeah, of course.
Because the less people making games, the less ideas that are out there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've got one thing is now you obviously know what Roblox is, right? You know what
You say
Roblox? Have you heard of that?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
We used to be in the same building as Roblox when we started our last company, Loot Drop in San Mateo. Yeah, they were just down the hall.
No way. Because I was going to say that I think it's a very much entry level. Well, I say entry level. Yeah, I guess entry level platform
for
kids to get into making their own games. And funny enough, there's a version of Doom on there called Room.
Nice.
And it's actually really pretty decent, to be fair.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good. But yeah, it's interesting to see that it's a good way to get kids into making games.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so many of those things that are even easier to do, like Geometry Dash, making levels. Like games like Super Mario Maker, or like getting kids excited about developing and creating things.
Yeah.
Minecraft really is the number one game, I think, for that, because it's a seamless creation and gameplay at the same time. You're not in a different mode like you are in normal stuff.
Yeah.
Normal games that let you edit, you're usually in an editor, so you're not actually playing the game. But Minecraft is that unique game that lets you do both at the same time, seamlessly. So yeah, I'm still waiting for the explosion of things that use the design and play pattern that Minecraft created, but don't rip off Minecraft. That don't look just like they've taken from Minecraft.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, that's awesome. I've got one last question.
Okay.
Now, I'm a pretty massive Sega fan. Okay, now we didn't see a whole lot of love from id, I would say, in regards to Sega stuff being released on any of the Sega consoles. I mean, obviously we had things like Quake 3 on Dreamcast, which it was great to be fair. But we didn't really see a whole lot before that, or really any of it at all. Was there a reason for this?
Let's see. We were mostly Nintendo people.
Right.
So the Genesis was like, it was Genesis versus Nintendo back in the early 90s, like 1990, 91. And we were more Nintendo people. Then we kind of became Neo Geo people for a while.
That's a good kind of people to be.
Really like Neo Geo.
Yeah.
And then we were SNES.
Okay, yeah.
And so we made Wolfenstein on the SNES. That was Doom came out on the SNES. We didn't make it ourselves, but it did come out on the SNES. From Sculptured Software.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, we didn't. Like the Saturn wasn't good.
No.
The Dreamcast was probably the best one. But we normally did not do our ports at our company, so it was rare. The only ports that we actually worked on ourselves was the Super Nintendo version of Wolfenstein, and that was a rush because there was a contractor that was supposed to finish the job, and we found out that they didn't do any of the job, and the publisher was like, "Where is it?" And it had been 9 months or something, so we had to go into turbo mode to make it. So we stopped working on Doom. So we were in the middle of making Doom, and we just had to stop all development and we spent we had to learn how to program the Super Nintendo. In the renderer had to be in assembly and all that stuff. It took us 3 weeks to make it.
Wow. Okay.
Which kind of lets you know how fast and how good we were making Doom.
Yeah.
To stop in the middle of Doom, like we were rocketing, and we had to jump off that rocket onto another one, rocket that out, and then continue on the Doom. And then later we did the Jaguar version of Doom in house.
Okay, yeah. I've got to be honest, I've not played the Jaguar version.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, but really the PC is the best.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, yeah.
The PlayStation version was really great. It was, new music and lighting and some new levels, and it was like the best non-PC version of Doom that had been made.
Yeah.
Doom 64 was really great because it wasn't the same copy of Doom. It was a new story and graphics and everything.
Yeah.
But we made the PC games. Like that was what we stuck to, and those were always the things that we wanted to make. And of course, we kind of had other people do it. Right. Except for the Super Nintendo Doom port, that showed up at our office. Someone decided to just do it and send it. Sculpture Software loved it, and they were basically the best Super Nintendo developers outside Nintendo. And they really liked the game, so they just ported it themselves internally and sent the cartridge to us. And we're like, we need to publish this. So we did a deal with them and got it published.
It does play really well as well, to be fair. Especially on a 16-bit console, it plays
for a SNES.
Yeah,
I mean, for Doom, it's slow.
Yeah, well,
for
yeah,
SNES,
yeah.
It needs the effects chip. Well, the effects chip is in the cartridge and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. One last question. I know I said that was the last question, but I've got one more. Out of all of the probably even millions, but we'll probably say thousands of Doom mods out there, is there one that you love or admire the most?
I really like Ancient Aliens.
Okay.
That was like they replaced almost everything in that. It could have been a totally different game. They did do just heavily modded and just a really great dev team. The graphics were great, the sound, everything they did. It was just a different experience, and I like when somebody takes Doom into a completely new thing. And Brutal Doom would probably be next to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. Okay, well, thanks, John. This has been absolutely amazing. I never thought I'd actually be able to speak to you in real life, to be fair. Literally the first game I ever had for the PC. I didn't play Doom 1 and 2 for years. I had Final Doom. I remember I went into, do you know the shop Woolworths, which doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Bought it from there. I remember seeing it on the shelf and I was like, yeah, I need this. And luckily, my parents said yes.
Wow.
And to be fair,
Final?
Yeah, Final Doom. Yeah.
Which is like the end of our whole era, and then I left the company.
Exactly, and that's what got me into it though. By playing that game, I was just like, wow. And then
that was actually made by 2 different teams.
Yeah,
we didn't even make that ourselves.
No, exactly.
You did get to see Doom.
Exactly, and that's what got me into it. And so. Yeah, I just want to thank you for for everything, because obviously like every game I play now is very much, if it's not in that style, I'll give it a miss. But anyway, thanks John for the interview. It's been amazing.
Great, thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you very much. All right,
take it easy.
And you too, mate. See you later.
And you too, mate.
Bye. Bye.